Hi guys, Dwight here, and we're back today with another budget deck list, and today we're looking at Songhai. Now, the results I had with this deck were pretty good last night. I'm quite happy with how the deck turned out, and we even ended up picking up some wins against much better equipped Songhai decks. So if you can win mirror matches where they have a pretty meta deck with all the epics and legendaries and you're using this, then it must be in pretty good shape. Now, the general idea of this deck is to play around your ranged minions, use them to leverage board advantage with buffs and just the fact that they obviously don't take counter attack damage, and then from there you can finish the game with burst through Saber Spine Seal, Phoenix Fire, things like that. The idea as well with our ranged minions is that Vitruvian and Vanar, outside of a few spells, can really struggle to deal with them, and so with so many Vitruvian and Vanar out there on the ladder at the moment, this deck does stand up fairly well against them. The only hard counter I found was Lionar, and we did run into a small glut of them last night, which kind of brought our results down a little bit. But aside from that matchup, this deck matches up well against pretty much everything you could face on the ladder. One problem is this deck can defeat itself in a way with the amount of spells and conditional spells at that it does have. So if you draw into several of your buffs in one turn, you can be left with a really poor hand to play. So this is one problem it has. This could be remedied somewhat by reducing the amount of buffs you have, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. The other way that we could hope to remedy this is by including an Ancestral Divination, which is a spell that draws a card every time you play a minion from your hand. So by including this in place of perhaps a Kaido Assassin, we could look to increase the consistency of the deck and not be left with an empty hand late in the game like sometimes happens. The other questionable slot is the 3-drops. I don't think Repulsor Beast necessarily did too much for this deck. It was good against Lionar for getting something like an Ironcliff out of the way, but at the end of the day that minion is going to get back to you eventually, and you don't have any hard removal to deal with it. So Repulsor Beast could easily be swapped for another sort of Mechazor, or Wings of Paradise is another good 3-drop I think that could fit well in this deck. Just something like that to give you a little bit more damage and ability to trade the board as opposed to pushing minions away for positional advantage, which wasn't so much a problem if you position properly with this deck. The other perhaps questionable card choice is Rock Pulverizer. I included this as a bit of an experiment because by having a provoke you could perhaps use the Kaido Assassins or the Scarlet Viper slightly better to get backstab damage, and it also can protect your ranged minions. I don't necessarily think it's a brilliant card, and something like Healing Mystic that's more standard maybe would fit better in this deck, but I wasn't necessarily unhappy with how Rock Pulverizer performed either. I was asked fairly often while streaming last night whether Fire Spitter would be a better inclusion than Widowmaker, but I stand by the decision that Widowmaker is a better card just in general and in this deck because of the 1 extra durability it has in place of 1 attack. Now the reason for this is that by having 3 attack it survives an attack from most 2-drops, it survives an attack from a general, it also survives most commonly used spells like Tempest and Chromatic Cold and things like that. So by having that 1 extra durability it makes it that much harder to remove, and therefore it's more useful to the strategy that we want to employ with this deck. The final replacement I would maybe consider is Dancing Blades in place of Scarlet Viper. Dancing Blades obviously has a bigger body and does 3 damage if you can position it correctly with its opening gambit to a minion. However, Scarlet Viper is a more versatile card in that it can be targeted by Inner Focus, so it can be activated the same turn it's played. It also has Backstab, which means it can be targeted with Inner Focus, move immediately, backstab a minion for extra damage, and then still have full health and not be counter-attacked. It also has the versatility that it can attack a general with backstab for extra damage, which Dancing Blades obviously can only ever attack it for 4, and so Scarlet Viper I think in this deck is worth the extra investment just because of the versatility it brings to the table and how much threat it provides. So in closing, I think this deck was really fun, it was really quite successful, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. As usual, I'm just going to provide some gameplay clips just to show how the deck plays out and what it's capable of. If this has been informative to you and useful, then please comment below to let us know how you got on, like and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thanks. Right, won't be playing this turn 1 obviously for 4 mana, or Saber Spine, so we've just got our 2/2-drops to play. This deck's less reliant on holding on to Primus Fist for damage later in the game, so we can just go ahead and drop it as a vanilla 2-drop and buff our Rock Pulverizer. I haven't played against any Magmar with this deck yet, so I have no idea how this matchup might play out. I suspect it's going to be fairly difficult for me if they run Plasma Storm. But there's only one way to find out. Yeah, we'll drop over here to contest this a bit. Okay. I don't need Saber Spine Seal this turn, it's much more useful later on in the game. Killing Edge isn't much better. I don't really want to have to trade this into the mini jacks, into the Jaxi rather. But if I were to use Killing Edge on it, then it survives with 2 health and dies to this, so that's not much better either. I suppose I do just trade it. That's good news. So natural selection for 2 gets rid of my Heartseeker, but I'm kind of fine with that. If he plays anything big, then we've got Phoenix Fire and Killing Edge for removal. Okay. So I don't need the Repulsor Beast right now. Killing Edge 1, Phoenix Fire and trade the other is probably the best play, so that I keep the board clear. He's kind of retreated right over to the other side of the board, so I can't backstab him, so while that's kind of a good strategy, it also means that without spells then my ranged minions aren't under any threat at all, because he's not chasing them around the board. He's also not using his general to trade whatsoever. There's a chance I get outvalued later in the game, but that's always the risk. The one change that I think I probably will make to this deck fairly soon is putting in something like Ancestral Divination so that I can draw more cards. I play out, obviously with so many cheap cards, I play them out really quickly and then I find myself with 2 or 3 cards in hand towards the end of the game, which just leaves you with a real lack of options. So this just straight up dies to the Heartseeker. I've got no way to kill the egg, but... So is it worth really killing this? It's not threatening anything. I'm quite happy just whittling him down from range. If I keep this out of the corner, then I've got a 1 in 2 chance that when my Jaxi dies, it spawns somewhere favourable. This isn't at any danger from rush minions unless he spawns 2 of them. This is fine. I'll just spawn Jaxi here just to get the mana tile off the board, because it'll be more useful to him than it will be to me. This also allows me to trade this next turn to kill the egg. So the only thing I'm really afraid of at the moment is... No, not Macintor. Yeah, the only thing that really hurts me badly is Plasma Storm. I have the option of playing the Scarlet Viper along with Inner Focus to clear the board. Then I can just play Jaxi as well, but then I've got an empty hand, and again it's fairly weak, or really weak, to Plasma Storm. I think I'll save the inner focus for now. There's not really like a massive benefit to using it, except I get 5 damage on his face. No, I will use it. I kind of feel like I need to keep the pressure up, even if I get slaughtered by Plasma Storm. So we've got nothing to get hits by mana burn if he's still running that. Like I say, literally the only real concern is Plasma Storm. Here it comes. It does use his whole turn to do it though, so it's not the worst thing in the world. 5, 7, 11. There's nothing really I can swap this for to get lethal this turn, so it's not worth replacing it. I may as well keep it in hand. It's also not really worth the 1 damage buff on that to put it all the way over the other side of the map. No Fire Spitters, no. I think because Fire Spitters only have 2 health and Widowmaker has 3, it makes Widowmaker a little bit stronger in the sense that it's not going to die to things like Tempest, which is a fairly big deal. Like the 1 extra attack is good for clearing like other small drops, and obviously it makes it a bit more of a threat, but not enough of a threat to warrant it being that much less durable. I just think Widowmaker's a slightly better minion. Like, it's got to do 2 damage eventually, and it'll die as soon as it does that 2 damage to pretty much anything. So while it was slightly weaker to Plasma Storm, all I would have gained from it is like a 1-1, which is not massively important, and it kind of puts a bit more pressure on him to have the minion there in his face. Like when I'm that far ahead on board, I'm more worried about chipping his health total down and keeping the board clear, rather than like playing around the worst case scenario then, which was Plasma Storm. But obviously our biggest minion still survived, so it wasn't that bad. The problem with Magmar is that while their spells are really, really good, they're also kind of far too expensive to play with anything else. So one of these is going to get respawned, returned to his hand if I do this. I think I just play the assassin back. Nah, I always do that. Obviously I should have played this onto the tile first. And that position is rubbish anyway because it just dies to him, so that was terrible. It's quite easy to get carried away with the mana that you assume you're going to have on a turn, because you know you can take the mana tile and then you don't take it and screw yourself over, so I'm going to get punished really hard. I think having Saber Spine to get rid of this, like the Rock Pulverizer just dies for free and both of these get respawned, so do I just take the extra 2 damage, 4 damage, or... No, it's fine. I can play out Rock Pulverizer and soak up a couple of attacks, but then I'm going to try and position on his side of the board more than mine, so that if he's running Vespers he doesn't gain the infiltrate value that you would gain otherwise. My god, that play, anyone would think just rank 9 or something. Yeah. Hey Duelyst, nice of you to pop in. How you doing? yeah, we don't really have like too many comeback mechanics in this deck, if at all. So if we're put off the board early and I have no way to deal with this Voice of the Wind, we may as well just concede, because there's no way that I will be able to come back. And that's why 2-drops and having a good early game are so important, and not positioning your minions like, well, whatever that isn't offensive. Like the Vanguard deck, Vanguard deck I did yesterday, I think was fairly awful. I think this deck is pretty decent as far as cheap deck lists go. Yeah, I do need a bot for the lists, I'll get there eventually. Only so many hours in a day. You know, I'm just like really busy, really in demand all the time. Hey, at least it's not in a focus. Place the Primus Fist for now, because I do want to play this soon. Kill that because I don't want to give it initiative to use Frenzy on his own turn. Whoops. So no Tusk Boar is a good sign. Not yet, anyway, but I'll take it for now. Early Tusk Boars are just so horrible to deal with. Speak of the devil. Is it worth an inner focus to save myself 3 damage? Probably not. This is getting into focus. That's where the mini Jaxes do come in handy, because they spawn in a random corner of the map. Then you can use it to spawn your ranged minions around them as opposed to next to your general, which just kind of leaves you weak to stuff like this. I've kind of got to kill this. Thank you. It's a great place for it to spawn. Okay, so I thought it would just be like a fairly standard Songhai deck, but I guess using Wings of Mechazor it must be trying to summon Mechazor. A lot of them use Sword of Mechazor anyway, because within a focus obviously it's really, really strong to clear things off the board. That's kind of an inefficient use of mana. That was just bad positioning. I'm just doing this to keep the board as clear as I can. So provided these guys survive, we've got a lot of damage for next turn. Could have done with him out. Could have done without him doing that, but okay, so we're in trouble now. So 2, 4, 6, 10, 13. How likely is 10 damage out of hand with 3 cards? Probably not very. Unless he's got... Yeah, no, I think we're okay on 10 health. I may live to regret this, but we'll go for it. Inner Focus and Killing Edge on Scarlet Viper pretty much wins. That's really bad. Yeah. So, yeah, we definitely win next turn. I feel like Scarlet Viper is such a good card. Okay. Probably replace Scarlet Viper. Killing Edge might be useful next turn, if he third wishes something, for example. That's just kind of terrible. There's no point playing it back though, because I do need it to do something. This is kind of a problem with Songhai, is that you just get a handful of spells. And it's not particularly useful to have all of them at once, and likely nothing on the board to use them on, but it doesn't happen all that often. Is that just getting siphoned? Not straight away at least. So I can save Spine Seal and Phoenix Fire to kill this. Alternatively I can just use Killing Edge and trade with my general. I don't need both Saber Spine Seals. Like whatever I do here, it's kind of weak because I'm not getting another minion onto the board. So if this gets siphoned or whatever, then I'm in a bad place. Looks like we're okay on that for now though. So I don't need Saber Spine Seal. Don't really need the tigers either. Just Phoenix Fire this, Jaxi, and attack this. Or I could Phoenix Fire this, attack this. Let's attack this first and see what the mini Jaxi spawns. I like this slightly more because the Saber Spine Tiger will survive the attack on the mini Jax, and it just makes sure there's nothing on the board that's going to get third wish or anything like that. If I had to replace Sword of Mechazor, I'm not sure what I would replace it with. Maybe a Wings of Paradise or something like that, which is the 3/3 fly minion that gains 2 attack when you replace a card. Like, because it's flying again, you can just drop it behind and then use it next turn, because you're always likely to replace a card every turn to find something more useful. So, like, Sword of Mechazor fills a fairly like small niche in that it's a low cost frenzy minion that's likely to kill a lot of 2-drops, and you can use inner focus on it to clear them all out, so it's kind of important in that regard, and I might even have more in there. But yeah, I think Wings of Despair is a decent enough replacement for it, or Wings of Paradise, Wings of Despair, whatever it's called, flying lovebird thing. Okay, so I can Scarlet Viper and Inner Focus to kill off this, Saber Spine this, attack this, clears the board. Does leave this a bit weak to Entropic Decay, but that would take up almost his whole turn, so I'm kind of okay with that. Jesus Christ, what is wrong with me? That's how you make someone concede with like ultimate BM, is you just play really horribly and mess up just about everything you're going to do, and then they realise that you must be like next level mind gaming them and just give up. So okay, so we're playing Sword turn 1 unless we find something better, which we're unlikely to do. Blood Rage Mask makes me think he's probably going to be running a lot of spells, so this getting Phoenix fired is quite likely. Okay, so I don't have a way to get rid of Lantern Fox straight away. And this isn't going to do any more than just attack this, it's not going to hit him as well, because Frenzy will only hit around the minion. So I think the best play is to move away and use Widowmaker. I don't have a good way to kill the Lantern Fox. Or I can push it next to me, but again, that's just not really that great. Especially with like wanting to play at range, I don't really want to give him free Phoenix Fires. I don't have any like silencers or transforms in this deck, so I am going to have to give him at least one. But if I can draw into a Killing Edge or a Saber Spine Seal first, then I can limit it to 1 instead of it definitely being 2. Like, even since the nerf, the new Lantern Fox is strong. It's just strong in a different way, like more sustained damage and threat over time and refilling your hand than the kind of absurd combo thing it was before. 2 Lantern Foxes, nice. So this is really bad. But it's probably best to try and get rid of these now so that his hand is already full, he'll only get 1. So he used the Phoenix Fire on the Widowmaker. He gained 1 from the Fox last turn. He would have gained 1 just then, so he's definitely got at least 1 in hand to remove something. Not entirely sure why he equipped that when the Provoke's still there. So it should cost him a charge of both the artifacts here. That's obviously fine, that was a really weak turn. So now we can get the artifacts off him, and obviously we're ahead, so I'm just going to try and keep the pressure on and do as much damage as I can. He's more likely to be able to burst me out than I am him, because of like using Cyclone Mask probably makes me think he's got Mask of Shadows as well. He might not, he might just, like I say, play a lot of spells and stay back and use the range from Cyclone Mask to kind of keep the board clear. But if he has Mask of Shadows, like, he would have included it in his deck, because it's that good. But as long as we can force him to use resources to clear off small minions, then we should be in a pretty good position to win. Like, he was obviously afraid of taking the 4 damage then from the Kaido Assassin, so that's why he Phoenix fired it instead. Don't have lethal, do I? No. It would be 1 in a focus. Killing edge is 5, so 6, 8, 11. Kind of a bad hand. How likely am I to die from 11 health? If he has Spiral Technique, then I would just be one-off dying. So Blood Rage Mask would kill me. Chances are I can draw into something to help finish him next turn, so I won't attack now. I like repeatedly hitting him with the inner focused Rock Pulverizer. I can see that being the path to victory. Okay, so I can't attack him from here, otherwise I take backstab damage and die. Rock Pulverizer would be kind of useless, obviously. So 1, 2, 5. So we're one off in that case. Buffs up to 5, so that would be 7, 9, yeah. There we go. That's the money shot. Close. Glad I didn't attack him last turn. Play Scarlet Viper because obviously I'm not going to be playing that just yet. So I'm still not sure about the Magma matchup. I feel like it should be quite good, but I'm really wouldn't like to say either way. So spawn that back there. If he positions sword here, then he can't hit it with his general as well. Okay, that's kind of bad. I forgot that had been silenced. Double Killing Edge isn't really what we need. Just have to hope he doesn't have another rush minion or a natural selection. Okay, that's a little bit awkward because ideally I would use the Scarlet Viper to backstab this and kill it, but obviously I can't because of the Primus Fist. Killing Edge means that kills it, though, and stays on 3 health. It's just I can't then do anything else as well. I guess Killing Edge is still the best way to deal with it. Something like a Macintor War Beast here is horrendous for us. Don't see that I've got a way to position to avoid it though. That's not so bad. So he's on 15 health. I think we just kill him. This does 6, 9, 12, 14, 16, one off. Can't do it anyway because we don't have enough mana. Still think it's the best play though. Should have moved that first, but oh well. He's a long way from home, so he's not likely to be able to stop himself from getting backstabbed again unless he moves and spawns a minion in place. Something like another Elucidator puts him on 4 health, so I think you kind of really need to heal here to survive. That's quite a good answer. We can put him on 3 as it is at the moment. I think we just play out everything and go aggressive. I mean, we take 3 damage from this, 2 damage from this. We could die, but I don't have another way to deal with the mini jacks, so we just go for it. I guess Primus Shieldmaster keeps him alive another turn. I should play all of these though, I think. So if I play another Primus and the Rejuvenator, yeah, it's not great. We're going to miss 1 damage on that because his positioning's not awesome, but want to save the Saber Spine for a bit of extra burst. So outside of a few card combinations we should be okay on 13 health. He's only got 1 space to spawn minions in as it stands as well, so yeah, 13 health should be fine, provided at least the Heartseeker survives or 1 minion survives, then he should definitely die next turn. Yep. Yes, I think we were pretty safe from that point onwards. I couldn't think of anything that would have actually threatened us.